Perfect. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are watching the Sister Success series by Onwards to Freedom. My name is Tiffany Larkey. I'm the founder of Onwards to Freedom, the president of Do the Damn Thing, Inc., and I am thrilled that you are here. We are in the midst of our Sister Success series, and today I'm interviewing Jerrica Dodd. You know, I've actually never done this before, but I said to myself there were so many pockets of crazy wins and crazy, visible, clear path. How did she do the damn thing? And I'm like, I cannot flip and keep this stuff to myself. I'm like looking in side of this world that is happening. I'm like, the rest of the world needs to learn, see, and be a part of it, because success leaves clues. And I know for a fact, yes, there are different strategies developed for each and every woman in our community, but it doesn't change the fact that they've all taken the similar path to success. I hands down know for myself that I would have just done anything to have been able to watch and see this level of possibility in my world. 16 years ago, I'm putting Jada Maya to bed hungry all the time. I'm flipping pissed off like 28 hours a day. I have no clue where dad is. I don't know how to make a dollar. I mean, I have a concept of how to hustle, but I don't really have a way to hustle. Jada and I are 18 months apart, and I felt lost and upset and frustrated all the time. Every day was like the end of the world, and I just didn't have any answers. Once I made a decision to stop thinking small and do the damn thing in my own life, the whole game changed. And specifically in owning my story, I want to be transparent. My whole world changed, and I went from being this angry, pissed off, frustrated single mom to building a handful of multiple six-figure businesses, and then going on to build a multiple seven-figure business, offline, brick and mortar, no online course, and with no online funnel. What's important for me now is that 4.5 years ago, I walked into this industry, and I didn't really have a want or desire to teach or to be on stage as I am today, or to do any of this. I just saw a problem, right? And sometimes we see a problem when we want to solve it. At that moment, the only problem that I saw was amazing men and women across the globe who were fighting for their dreams, fighting to save their families, fighting to save their mental state of being, looking for change inside of their communities. And it was like they were walking into rooms, virtual rooms and physical rooms. There's only one of two things. One, there was someone making 30,000 teaching the other person how to make 150. And I was like, wait, what? That's stupid. And if it wasn't that, then it was someone who had never really owned a business, but they got killer at marketing, and they just decided, and I say marketing, branding, and they created a brand, and so on, so forth, and dun, 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 we're in business supposedly. And now we're qualified to teach other people, ? So I was like, you know what? I may not know a thing about coaching, but damn it, I know how to build businesses from scratch with no credit card, with no loan or any fancy branding or any of that stuff. And fast forward, since selling my store, we have now helped thousands of people around the world, tens of thousands of people around the world. We have many of our family members that are doing the damn thing in their own life. And more importantly, we're headed to the front lines of helping those who cannot help themselves, standing in the gap for those who cannot help, who cannot stand up, and taking our stories and our voice to a new level. In a moment, I want to bring on Jerrica Dodd. And I kind of say that because, man, I have, it's so neat for me to watch what happens when you just trust the process. And in this particular journey, as I bring on Jerrica, she's not just trusted the process, she has literally walked through the mother flipping process. And originally when she came into my world, she is our clear avatar, meaning she's just a dreamer. You cannot try to box her inside of other types of pieces, like her background or her education or her family or the color of her skin or her age or her marital status or children, none of the above, because that is not who I'm after. I'm after the dreamer, the person who knows that they were meant for more, and they have gone to other places. They have looked inside of, whether it's religion or inside of personal development, they just looked for answers and people, and they haven't gotten some, and they've gotten some great notes and quotes and fantastic things like that, but they really haven't actually made the progress. Because that was me. Jerrica, I don't even know. I'm so excited. I'm like, because I know one thing's for sure. If you take notes, if you listen to what she has said, I'm going to ask her key questions around her moving across the country, making a decision to choose her, move across the country, pursue love and laughter every day. Right before we came on, I asked her a question. I was like, yeah, it's 4 closes in the last 30 days at a multi-$1,000. And I said, and she was like, no, it's 6. And I was like, you know what? Let me just stop asking you questions and let me go ahead and get this started, because I got schooled very quickly. But then I also realized that doing the damn thing is so much more than just making a decision. It's choosing you. All right. So Jerrica, we're going to get you on. We're going to get you on. Let's see if I can do this. We hear her, you hear her. Jerrica's voice and laugh is so contagious. It is. It's so contagious. I love it. All right, let's see. Let's see if I can do this. Ask to start video. All right, it looks like I've done this. And dun, da, da, da. I know, it's just so exciting. You see how the train, I had to bust out the train for you. You saw that? Yeah. That was a right-sided train. That's the 90s. Some of you will catch it. Some of you won't.
I got it.
So Jerrica, I have had the luxury of just kind of watching you fishbowl style in your world, building. That I feel like that's it, building. And, there are some people who make a decision for themselves and then they walk. They walk towards taking action. They walk towards the final destination. And you didn't. You didn't walk. You have ran, galloped, backflipped, cartwheeled, and skydived. That's the best way for me to put it. I gotta tell me, I'm gonna do something a little bit different here. I want you to just take a couple of sentences and just walk through your background. Who were you a decade ago? What were you doing? What was life like? I'm gonna back up into your story. Mm-hmm.
So a decade ago, really seriously, right on a decade ago, I was newly married, and I was in the middle of my career in the pharmaceutical industry, and I was definitely what most would consider to be quite accomplished. I was a decade ago starting to begin my service in church ministry, and so that's what was happening for me a decade ago.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so newly married. She was living in Churchland, and because Usherland comes next for me, and so she was living in Churchland, and I get that. I grew up in the church. I served ... And then you were also in the midst of serving everybody.
Yeah. ...
Right? Because that's what happens, right? So we don't even realize it. I say that's what happens, but that's not what happens. We don't fall into it. That's literally the story.
Yeah.
It's not like we just stumble into serving people. We're literally like this. And then we become accustomed to it. And then we have parts of society, whether it's our culture or our family or maybe a spouse or a friend, that shows you and says, hey, yes, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Because that's what we're doing. And this is what we kind of just do. And what's so neat for me is that fast forward, there was a point in your journey before we get into all the cool things, like you floating across the country. There was, because I'm literally like that. I am, that's the truth. Mm-hmm. At what point, forget the action that you took. What point did you go, I think there's something more out there? What point?
Well, there was a series of events in that my health became front and center for me. And in that, when we back up that 10 years, I was in the midst of the fight for my health and didn't even realize it because I was so focused on taking care of everybody else and making sure everyone else was happy that my health was slipping between my fingers, literally. And so I liken it to that game you play at the fair, the whack-a-mole game, where you have that mallet and you're doing like this, like that. those moles popping up were health issues for me. Urinary incontinence, fainting and carpet burn because I fell so hard when I fainted, not being able to walk on one of my legs, like all kinds of just, stuff that just came out of left field year after year after year. But even though I was trying to whack the mole and, okay, get a prescription for this, okay, see a doctor for that, my health was still slipping through my fingers because I was so focused on.
You were putting Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Quick fixes, Band-Aids, temporary.
That wasn't the priority, because the priority was making sure everybody else, the job, the spouse, the church, everybody else was happy and satisfied and they're taken care of. And so I was just slowly disintegrating, if you will, my health.
That's so real. Lesson number 1. So I'm gonna, my objective, for those of you who are watching this live, and those of you who watch this on replay, my number 1 objective is to just pull out that quick lesson, because I don't want you to write down quotes. I don't want you to write down half-baked concepts. The success leaves clues, and what she started with was talking about her health. And being a woman myself that has ignored my health so many times I want to say my previous life sometimes. I want to say my previous life because sometimes I look at my life, kind of what you said before we got on camera, like I'm actually alive now today. Yes. I can't truly say that I was alive then. It's almost like I know someone's going to hate me for this, but it's like being born again. Yeah. And it's like, it's being born again in a way that it's like, oh, I'm here, good or bad for the moment, good or bad for the day. It's like, I'm here and this feels good. And I'm aware, I'm self-aware, and I am first. I matter. Wait, I'm in the equation. I'm in the equation. Shit. Whoa. And that moment in itself, I'm telling you, for a woman, good or bad, whether things are flying high at that moment or things are on the ground, that feeling of ability to just have self is like a drug. It's like amazing because it feels so good. Because it, for me, it almost, when we don't have it, we're in pain emotionally and spiritually. And that drug of being self-aware, and I don't want to equate it to a drug. I know Tiffany Largy is not saying drugs are good, but clearly we take drugs at times to relieve pain and to change our state so that we get to a desirable state. Yeah. And for me, I can remember years and years and years. I don't think I've ever shared this with you, but I had pancreatitis. But before all my other exciting things that have happened, I've had surgery so many times. But there was one particular time where I was so focused on trying to figure out what was going on with my ex-husband. So trying to figure out, how do I just get you to stay put? How do I get you to, to be present in our life? And he didn't want to be. And he made it clear he didn't want to be. But I remember holding Maya. Maya must have been maybe 4 or 5 months old, and I was into my apartment. And this particular day, I just visualized me like this, standing like the world is coming to an end. I can't believe this. We barely have any food. I can't keep a job. And it's like this. And then I faint with Maya in my arms. Oh, wow. Because yes, I faint with Maya in my arms. She's 6 months old because I had the symptoms. So just like what you talked about a moment ago, I had experienced a ton of different symptoms, and I had insurance at this moment. I don't know how, but I physically had insurance, and I was band-aiding. I was so focused over here on this whole thing that really, one, didn't matter, didn't even include Tiffany Largy. But yet I was over here and I'm fainting, but I'm fainting like I had to be rushed to the hospital kind of fainting. And I think about that so much. As you said that, I think about how as women, we're not even in the equation. And it's almost until like we're right near death, where we're like, wait a second. Was I supposed to do, 8 months ago, 2 years ago? I have been suffering for a long time. I've been in pain for a long time. I really actually thank you for starting there first, because we haven't really talked about health at all in this Sister Success series. Yeah. And it's the baseline, because we serve and we just deteriorate physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and then financially. It's all of the areas. You nailed it. All right.
And you know what? The people, when you're doing all that giving and giving and giving, and the people that are taking, I think you even secretly like hope, like they'll say, you know what? I've taken enough. You need to take time for, but that doesn't happen.
That
Like,
never happens.
no one ever says, you know what, I have used your talents and skills and ability enough. You need time. That's just, and so you're waiting kind of secretly, like maybe they'll realize. It doesn't happen.
You know what's so funny you say that? Because what ends up happening to us is that we begin to get bitter and we don't even realize it. We're angry on the inside, but we never dare tell anybody. It reminds me of, you know what's a great example of this? Kevin Hart's Night School. Did you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So in Kevin Hart's movie, in the movie Night School, the woman who is Christian, who has her children right out of high school, okay, and every moment she starts by saying, which I think that's my favorite part of the whole movie. I just saw it 2 weeks ago. I'm so late to the game. Just forgive me and feel sorry for me. Like, it's fresh in my mind. But she's asked a question and she automatically starts by saying, yeah, everything's great because we have 3 beautiful children and praise the Lord and whatever else she says, right?
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they casted that. And then more importantly, they wrote that into the script. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do it, but it's such a great visual of the reality of how we live this life, especially in the arm of religion or belief or doctrine or systems where we're trained to just say, yeah, I'm perfectly okay. Everything's great. I love my children. I love my life. Praise the Lord, whatever it might be. And I'm like, man, what would happen? It's like inside of that, we then also say, I love serving, I love giving, but we don't want to finish a sentence and say, but I'm really waiting for someone to serve and give to me just once. It would be awesome to feel what it would be like because I'm constantly serving other people. And then when I go home, I'm actually really alone or empty and sometimes sad and questioning who I am in my faith. Mm-hmm. I loved that. And I love the fact that you're 100% right. It doesn't happen. We get angry. So now we're serving and giving. We have anger creep in. We go from 41 to 43 to 44 to 47 to 52 to 59 to 63. I'm telling you, I have women who have walked into our events and they're 70, 71. And my lesson to myself, this is something I did not know before I started teaching, is that it's independent of age. Mm-hmm. That feeling for a woman just it stays with us. I believe, I'm going to tell you the truth, I actually believe that it went away for you at some point. I thought that when you got older, you just stopped needing love or you just stopped needing those kind of things. I know it sounds stupid, but I believe that with every fiber in my body up until about 6 years ago. Probably right when I made my own transition, but when I started teaching, and my first year and a half of teaching, I saw maybe, I don't know, 10,000 people live. And I was baffled by the data that I was holding. I was like, oh my gosh, you feel the same way and you're 63? What? You feel the same way and you're 71? What? Like, it was actually I thought that it left, but it didn't. And my aha was that it doesn't leave until you deal with it. Yes. And it doesn't leave until you own your story, which then is why I was like, oh my gosh, the whole world has to own their story. You can't die like that. You cannot die. This cannot be your whole life existence. Mm-hmm. And then, so, all right, let me get back to this. So you live in Usherland, you have your citizenship there, and then you're like, okay, I am, was it something hitting the fan? Did you absolutely end up in the like, what happens where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna pay a little more attention to me?
Well, my health, back to my health again. My health had to make its way front and center until I realized that I had to deal with it. I could no longer put Band-Aids on it and hope that it would just work itself out or over time resolve, or this is just a function of getting a little bit older. My health came front and center when, tumbling through 13 years of these crazy random whack-a-mole symptoms. After 13 years, I decided to get the right people around me for my health. Like I obviously don't have the right doctors. And getting the right people on my healthcare team to ultimately sitting in front of the neurosurgeon, and he says, you need to have brain surgery, just as emphatically as I'm talking to you, like there's nothing else to do but this. And I think about that conversation. I was contending with myself because I'm thinking, you know, while all of this was unspoken, in my mind, I'm like, you don't understand, Mr. Neurosurgeon. I'm supposed to take care of everyone else. There's no way that I have time to go lie down on a table for you to take care of me. There's just no time for that. So I think about like the stance I took and the attitude I got when I said, well, what happens if I don't do it? And, you know, he's looking at me like, I don't need brain surgery. You need brain surgery. And
Right.
he says, you'll be paralyzed. And I mean, and he's standing there looking at me like, I'll wait. And I'm saying, no, but I don't have time. I mean, my mom is ill, you know, has some mental health challenges and she needs me. And like, there's just no time. I started a new job. And I said, well, you know, this is March of that year. And I said, well, you know what? The company has a shutdown in August. So maybe that'll be a good time. Maybe that'll be a good time. And then I asked him this crazy question. It said, I said, how long do I have? So pretty much I was asking him, how long do I have? How long can I push my health aside until right before I become paralyzed? Then I'll do it. Crazy.
But it's real.
Yeah.
It's real. And I want to stop here just for a moment, because my question to the woman or the person who's watching, how long have you put something aside? Like how long, if you really understand what she's saying, is she looked at all these responsibilities, all these give moments, all of these roles that she played. And she was like, oh, but I can't let this person down. I can't let that down. I'm in charge of the festival. I am supposed to be coordinating my parents' trip back to, you know, Israel. And I got these things to do. Health, you can't get in the way. So just watch this out, Health. I'm going to push you aside. You're going to take a back seat. Yes, I know, paralyzed. I know, I hear you. But I am not paralyzed yet, and I'm not paralyzed now. So I can just keep going, right? Just like that. And that's not the truth at all. So he looks at you like you're crazy.
And he just patiently waited. I can't imagine what he thought. He probably was like, this woman, did she hear what I said? Mm-hmm. But I wasn't contending with him. I was contending with me. And I don't think I've ever said this to you, but honestly, one of the thoughts that went through my head, I never said, but honestly, one of my first thoughts when he said that, this is how fast I was thinking in that moment. I was like, no, because I'll have to be on short-term disability, because that sounds like a pretty serious thing. I won't be able to just go back to work next week. So if I'm on short-term disability, then that means I won't make as much money, and I won't be able to give the church the size offering and tithe that I normally do when I'm working full-time. I'm embarrassed to say that I thought about that.
No, I appreciate you doing it. No, I appreciate you doing it, because that's actually real. You know, it's so real, and it hits home for me personally. I'm going to say something, and I'm going to say it. So there are different things that we put in front of ourselves. And Tiffany Largy is not suggesting that you don't put God in front, or the universe, or goodwill, or your religion, your faith. That's not what I'm saying. But it's almost illogical to believe that God, universe, all of the above wants your health second, wants you second in the equation that we give. And the need to give to the church really didn't come from God. It comes from the environment that we're in, and whether it's people or pastor or spouse, because sometimes it's spouse. Mm-hmm. And women fall into this trap specifically because it's like, oh, well, the Bible says. It's kind of like this. I shared with all of you that I was in this marriage for 6 years, and I knew year one that it was not good. Mm-hmm. I actually probably knew before I was married. I had signs and indicators, and it was dangerous. It wasn't just like, oh, he said this. No, shit was really dangerous. And in year one, I remember going to church and having a conversation with the pastor at the time, and all I heard was that God wanted me to stick this out He wanted me to not continue to be abused, but that's how it translated to me, because there was no other way, and that I wasn't being an obedient, great wife if I didn't stick this thing out for years and years and be miserable and lose myself. And I was like, now at the time though, I know this is going to sound crazy, but it was my belief in not wanting to be rejected by this environment that I was in, that I continued to do, and I continue to suffer. Year 2, year 3, year 4. And yeah, things changed a little bit because I started making my own money, but it didn't, I was still married. I was still trapped. I would still leave my last client at 4:18, and from 4:18 11 o'clock at night, it was like a nightmare in my house. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. And no one knew that. It was like the end of the world. There was only one moment where I really understood how bad it was. And I don't teach this year, but I think next year in our Do the Damn Thing World Tour, I need to teach this for women. I realized how bad it was because I was with another person in the car. And it was during the workday, and we were tag teaming on a client, working on an account, a company. And we're in Coral Gables, Florida. I'll never forget this. And if you know who you are, if you ever see this, please reach out to me. We're in the car, and my husband calls, and it's the middle of the day. And I can't remember the item, but it's something as simple as like, where is the mayonnaise? Or like something simple. But he's so loud on this call, and he's yelling and screaming and cursing that I froze. I literally was physically frozen, but the man who was near me could hear it. He could hear every word. Now, mind you, I pick up the phone like this, like, hey, hello, this is Tiffany, it's 11:18 in the morning, right? And the call had come in multiple times, and I pick up the phone and I'm like, hey, hello, this is Tiffany. And it's so loud. Now, 2 things. 1, I know better. I cannot hang up this phone.
Right.
Because if I hang up this phone, I'm asking for the end of the world. Do you understand? I haven't owned my own power yet. So I'm going to sit here and I'm subjecting myself to it. But as we ended the call, I was frozen. I was so frozen. I was in between tears and like we're just mentally breaking down. And he looks at me and he says, you can't live like that. That's crazy. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what that was about. We're not friends. We're not besties. You get it? Right. And he looks over to me and he's like, I want you to know that's not reality. And it was a game changer for me because he was deep in his faith in his own religion. This particular man, we didn't know each other, but when he said that's not reality, I was like, wait, what? What do you mean? I thought I was supposed to stick this shit out till forever. I'm pretty sure this is what the pastor, the Bible, I don't read that passage. All the women were telling me, people in my family were telling me, you're saying that are you trying to tell me I have a choice? Are you trying to tell me I have a choice in this thing? Stop it. Just cut it out. It was a game changer for me. I'll never forget that moment. And I went home that day, or I left him that day, and I was bewildered. Jerrica, I was bewildered because it was the first time I had ever heard of that's not okay. You should do something about it. Yeah. And I realized years coming out of that is that our environments dictate our unwant to be rejected. So because we don't want to be rejected, because we all need to feel acceptance at some level, we subject ourselves to things that just don't matter. Mm-hmm. So you're sick, you're basically almost dying. The doctor's like, please cut this out. I don't know what you're talking about, but you have to get it. So question, do you get surgery?
Yes,
I'm going to go off camera for just a moment, but I'm still going to be here. So please go ahead and answer the question. Do you actually get surgery? How do you make the decision to just do it? Because you didn't die, respectively. No. I'm seeing you here, right? So I know you did something. What did you decide to do?
So I decided to have surgery, and actually within that same appointment, it took a few minutes, and I'm so grateful that he was patient to let me deal with myself, if you will. But I had surgery, and actually I had to have surgery twice, but it all worked out after surgery. But it's so amazing that humans have amnesia, I would say. I say it's why people have more than one child. You know, you hear people talk about their childbearing experience and you go, oh my God, and they did it again? Because humans have amnesia. We forget being ill. We forget, we go, oh, well, you know, it wasn't that bad. I mean, yeah, I made it through. And so even though I made it through surgery, opening up the back of my head twice, even though I made it through that, I still went right back to serving everybody, being that good employee, being that good minister, being that good daughter, being, you know, what I was supposed to be doing. I went right back. As soon as I got well, I went, oh, well, I'm healed. Back to what I'm supposed to be doing, until my health called again and said, hey, this isn't. And so I had to start, and I started in 2017 making some really hard decisions. There are people today who knew me then who say, I still cannot believe you left your church. I still cannot believe you quit your job. So it's like each year since 2017, I had surgery in 2016, but it's like each year I have made a decision for me, because for so many years I have not. So in 2017, I said, you know what? I'm driving an hour to church, an hour back, and this isn't the best environment for me to even become like where I am today. Like, you didn't know me then, but if I could, like, I would never have become this if I wouldn't blossom. I was used to being smaller.
Yeah.
And so I made the very tough decision. I begged God and I prayed, and I was, oh my gosh, because I'm very analytical. So I was like, you know, if I'm going to do this, like, I got to look at all the angles and make sure that it's really okay to do this. Cause, you know, this is going to have some serious repercussions in a lot of ways.
Totally.
And I remember praying and like, okay, God, like, you got to tell me, like, is it really okay to leave? And then I promise you, he said, I never told you you had to stay. I left. Short 6 months later, 8 months later, however many months, next year, the job was next. Because I'm the type of person that says, if you were loyal to me in 1962, even though I wasn't born then, in 2019, I owe you. I have to, you know, it's not enough for me to say, because I said, well, they were good to me. Yeah. When I had surgery, they were there. I had surgery and I had a job and I had insurance and I had just walked on the job, and that all was true. However, I had a discriminatory issue happen, and I was like, well, you know, even though they're treating me that way, you know, they were good to me when I had surgery. Well, that all went out. No. And I remember saying, I don't make me a priority. And I was being asked about guys, and I was like, oh, I meet guys. I meet guys all the time. I said, but they won't commit. They won't make me a priority because I don't make me a priority. It was like I had this V8 experience.
Boom. Yes. Did you hear that? I want everyone to hear that. They don't make me a priority because I don't make me a priority.
Yeah.
You can't ask someone to do something for you if you don't do it first for yourself. Period. End of subject. Yes, Jerrica, yes. And so all of a sudden I'm in this conversation about, you know, men and I was like, I don't care about a guy. I'm going to make me a priority. So I left, and the person that was, you know, running that retreat that weekend, she was like, no, wait. I did not tell you to quit your job. No. I was like, nope, you didn't. But I got it. I don't make me a priority. And I'm about to start doing that today. It was actually a year ago yesterday that I said, I quit my job. That's it. And I came home and I said, in order for me to do this, I have to pick a date. And I picked a date, and I have not looked back. I didn't have all the answers because the analytical brain will try to say, well, okay, now how do you want to do this? And, you know, let's lay this out. And, you know, what's that look like? Let's measure it twice, you know. Let's measure it twice. Yeah, my father says measure twice, cut once. I get it. I super get it.
But I was like, nope, I have to make me a priority. And however that looks, if it means investing in me this way, investing in my health, like, I have to do that, because for so long I didn't. And look what I got.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so fast forward. So tell me, where is your... I feel like I have to put my hands like this for this, you know, like where has doing the damn thing in your life led you today? I know you walked into my world halfway through this journey, and you meet this random black woman who is pretty black and white, but not going to let you not make a decision.
Yeah.
And you know, you were living in Atlanta when you met me, and you were going to continue to live in Atlanta where you met me. So tell the world, like, where are you today? What are you most proud of? What's happening in your world? And what lesson can you impart on the next woman?
Okay, so I know I'm smiling, but I'm going to try to get through this without crying because this has been a really short amount of time. Today is what, June the 10th. And I met you first in last November. When was the stage? That's when I met you. And then again in January. But I would say it was January that things, like I was pushing the gas. But if you ever like floored it, that's what I feel like happened after January. I remember, you know, obviously I made the decision to leave the things that I was so loyal and dedicated to and to choose me. And I was headed in that direction, but I hadn't floored it yet. I was just kind of, you know, pushing the gas a little bit, trying to give it a little gas.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
After I met you and we started working together, I remember you were very clear. You gave me some instructions. Some I followed right away, and those exponentially produced and still are producing. Some direction you gave, and I was like, I can't do that. And I tell people, because I've even told you, you were right, and I was not right. And like, I got around to what you told me to do, but oh my God, if I had done it faster. Well, so what has resulted? Number one, my health is more of a priority than it has ever been. Like I found a woman to help me because I knew my posture was off and that was going to cause problems down the road. So I was like, let's work on the posture. Like I have the space and the time to do that now. Two, I never before you said, do you love living in Atlanta? I never before had thought of moving. I was just gonna be here, not because I felt I had to be, but this was just, you know, this was good enough. But like I went from you saying, you need to move and you need to move by December, but no, I know you, so you need to move by September. And then I said to myself, because you're right, if you had said December, I would have been like, well, you know, it's the holidays, so January, and now, well, it's cold, and it would have been this time next year. So I was like, how do I do this to move by September? And I just decided that I didn't have to figure it out. I was just going to do it. And so and now it's not, I'm like, well, I can spend 30 days in this city and I can go 30 days north to Seattle, and then I can go down to LA maybe for 15 days. I can go, but I can go to Phoenix. My friends, my new community.
Your Onwards to Freedom family, you guys are so cute. I heard from Tucson to Phoenix to Hawaii. Yes.
I can go anywhere I want to go, and I've built a business such that wherever I am, as long as there's a Wi-Fi connection, I can do that. Like this whole coaching thing wasn't in my purview. I must have mentioned it. You told me back in December, and like it's, you know, you said 4 and I said, well, it's actually 6. And I'm like all these things. So now my dream is I want to have a place to live in the 4 corners of the United States. I'm not so partial to the Midwest. I've been there, done that before. So I want to have a place in the 4 corners of the United States. We already got the South covered. I'm headed to the Northwest to check out the land and see.
Yes.
And and it's not about having a house. This is not about material things, but I want to have a community in all of those places so that no matter where I go, I have connection. Because I mean, back in 2014, 2015, I was like, you know what? I want real relationships. Like I can't deal with superficial, like I want real. And I feel like that's coming. You saw my post about me and Jagisha last
It's
week.
so funny you say that. I stole that picture. I saw it. I said, that is so cute.
Yeah.
You guys are like two peas in a pod. And this, I was like, you see that? I was like, oh my gosh, that is so doggone cute.
That
And
was
it's
from
so
January.
real. But
Yes.
it's so real.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, and I see that, and you know what it does, it did for me. It's like that kiss. Some people will understand it, some people won't, but it's so pure and it's so real and there's no filter, and it's like, it feels so good to be loved. It feels good to be able to be yourself and not have a filter or a facade, or not have to fit this criteria, that criteria, or there's an idea of how much money you make, what kind of car do you drive, where, how much do you pray, how often do you pray, do you tithe, like all of that goes out the window, and it's like heart connects to other heart, and that magic. And when I saw that picture, I said, you know, I remember how afraid I was to tell my own story, and to face myself. It's the truth, to face myself, because I had been 6 figures, 7 figures, trial, tribulation, sickness. And I felt like I was in my own mental hole, because it's like, do I really tell my story? But nobody wants to hear about this story. And then it was like, but if I don't tell my story, then how am I going to find the other people who need me? And I was like, well, everyone's telling me about this online build a funnel thing. And I'm like, I can't fool with that right now. That just seems like too much flipping work. And I was like, well, where I'm from, we're going to have a shot of rum and we're going to sit and hug and laugh and love. And I was like, well, I'm going to take that to the stage. And, you know, I look back and I think of this moment. This moment means so much to me. And I haven't gotten by it, but it's on my own phone. Because it means so much to me, because it's, you both are from 2 different worlds, 2 different colors, 2 different backgrounds, 2 different lifestyles, 2 different lifestyles. This is so important. When I started telling my story, I had a lot of great advice that, and I mean great advice because they meant well. And that told me that I could not make this happen. That this would not happen. Not real. And we need to have 2 women who have children, 2 women who are married, 2 women who are empty nesters, or 2 women who are single, 2 women who are LGBT, 2 women who are, in order for me to create this. You know, it's fascinating, because inside of our own willingness is so much greatness. And I remember, you guys are lucky because you have a community to sit inside of. I did not. I literally just had me, myself, and I, and even my own husband, like my own family was like, this is crazy. Do you realize this is crazy? Do you realize this doesn't make any sense? Like, do you really do that? And then I started thinking about, once I start telling my story of going to bed hungry, people are going to be like, wait, what? What was happening? You were abused? My ex-husband's still alive. His family's still alive, right? So I want to be transparent in this, because it's so tough. It was so tough for me to make a decision, because here's a lesson. You can't tell part of the story. No. I could not tell part of the story. I had to tell the whole story. And at every level, you have to continue to allow the story to evolve. And for me, you know, one of the reasons why I took an entire year to sit and to not produce a 3-day event was not because we didn't have the time or capacity, but I knew that I needed to dig into. So I have told the story as it relates to the business, right? And my need to produce a business. But my lesson last year was that my story starts because I'm a woman, and all of the challenges and things I went through as a child, as a teenager, my early 20s, right? All of the things that molded and shaped me. And there are pieces of that story that people hear, but I have not been reluctant to tell that story or to walk into that story. But I said, my God, I actually need to go way back. And, you know, even as far as the Me Too movement, I realized with all these pieces, I was like, you can't tell part of the story, Tiffany Larkey, because you tell pieces and part of the story, there are people who are going to miss out.
Yes.
And then I won't really help the other person who really needs, because they need my whole story. They need every piece of that story, because in those pieces, they see themselves. inside of where you told your story, where you talked about, I was worried about tithing. It's not really about tithing. It's about that commitment to the church or commitment to the organization. The organization is here and we're here. And all we are is we're a tool. We're just a tool. We're not actually an item. And I think, who said it best this week? I think it's Dot. Mm-hmm. So Dot Wiggins talked about being a tool instead of being a human inside of the organizations. Mm-hmm. And I said to myself, yes, that's exactly it. We're so much more than just a tool. We're humans. And as I think about the many women who suffer in silence, who don't leverage themselves inside of the things they want to build, and they're not encouraged to love themselves first or more than the other things in their world. It is people like you who will change the games, Jerrica, for eons and eons to come. Your willingness to show up, your willingness to face whatever truth is in front of you, your willingness to acknowledge, I started, before you came on camera, I started by talking about how you just run. You do X and you run. Jerrica, I share X with you and I say, hey, Jerrica, this is what you need to do next, period, end of subject. Some of them you did right away, and the others you went, but here's the end result. You did them anyways. The end result, when I look at your success, for me, I'm like, wow, 6 closes, multi-thousand, less than 30 days. You built, now you're speaking, you're on the front of magazine covers, you have people beating down your door, you throw up something on social media, you have 200 likes, like the whole world's just in love with you. The whole world's just in love with you. We just love you. But it's not because you walked out the door and you just said, oh, here I am. It's because you decided to dig deep, own your own story, not apologize for it, to share it, and to sit with it. And even in an industry, in a place where thoughts, emotions are considered taboo, I love your vulnerability. And I love the fact that you're like, no, I get it. Because the mission is too big. There are too many people out there who are suffering in silence. And I'm not going to say they don't have to, but the healing comes from owning your story first. The greatest thing for me to watch is to see how much you own your story every part of the way, and how success or the result that you were after just follows you. It just follows you. So my question to you is this, because you get ready to leave, to head across the country, and you're going to live your best life. But I want everyone to know, before she got on, she said, I truly mean it when I'm living my best life. No, every day is the best day ever.
Yes.
Those are your exact words.
Yes.
She said, and we weren't recording, and I thought to myself that it's so neat. She said, every day in my life right now, every day is the best day ever. And I know it sounds cliche but it's not, it's real. Mm-hmm. There is nothing more exciting in life than waking up excited, looking forward to the day, and not because something special is happening. It's because you're happening and you're making things happen. And you know that there is love and laughter right around you. I don't think there's anything more exciting. And I've shared this for years now, where people say, how do you have so much energy, Tiffany, to do this? I'm like, because honestly, I love my life. I don't know how else I don't know what the other answer is. And I don't love my life because there's certain money in my bank account, or no. I love my life because I'm surrounded by so much love and laughter inside of this Onwards to Freedom community. I see people who are, you have no idea. I see people who stop me in random places and they'll hold up their wrists. I don't have my bracelet on now, but they'll hold up their wrists and, or they'll have this, but it's not because we're sharing something. It's because we're in the same family. Yeah. And the family is not based on an avatar or color of skin or sex or any of the above. It is 100% here. And here, heart is to me, it's the greatest element that's on the planet. Love is the greatest element. It is tied to our souls and our spirits and everything that allows this planet to fly, the good and the bad. And I am grateful for it. Jerrica, if you had one thing to leave with your fellow sister where you said, hey, because you've really done the damn thing. There are pharmacists and people who are beating down your door. You have taken, and I want everyone to know, she has done all of this without an online funnel. without some great, let me actually take a moment. Let me take a sidebar here. Without an online funnel at all, without some great digital marketing behind her, without social media gurus or herself spending hours and hours on social media, because that's not it. Hands down, she is using herself, her intellect, and her willingness to connect and to connect the dots. And every day she does it, but she does it consistently. That's the other part of this. I've got to highlight it. She does it, but she does it consistently. Yes. Yes. Okay. So now if you had one, actually, we're going to let you need to give us three lessons. Yes. 3 important lessons that you say this is attributed to my success in the last 4 months.
One is I had to start with dreaming. I had to, it's so easy to dream, but then edit the dream. So when I'm talking to pharmacists and I tell them, I know how analytical you are, but don't edit your dreams. Like turn the editor off and just get it out of your head. Like, what do you want? So I had to decide what I wanted my life to look like. So when I said, I want to live in 4 countries, 4 corners of the country, the editor goes, how are you going to afford that? You can't do that. You know how cold it is in the Northeast? You got to turn the editor off and just dream. That is your blueprint of even where to begin. I don't know how, but I know that those dreams are not by accident. It's what my heart wants. So 1, I would say dream. 2, I have decided that for the remainder of my professional career, how long that is, that I will have a coach. The thing that I have appreciated most is that my coach can see farther than I can. And I've learned to trust my coach and therefore trust myself. And that I know that she's not going to do anything to harm me, and that she's probably thought 10 steps ahead of me. So when she says, do it, do it. So dream, get a coach because they can see further. You said about 3 weeks ago, I see 10 clients in the next 40 days. And since then, 5 have happened. Like,
I know it has barely been that. I mean,
and we're only maybe getting close to 21 days. Like I'd have to go back and see exactly but we're nowhere near 40 days. And so I have a total of 6. But since you said those words, so I'm like, keep speaking. What do you see next? But I'm grateful because one of the things that having a coach does is you're able to believe it and stand in the gap until I do. And I'm grateful for that. To have someone, and that's what I tell the people that I'm coaching. I believe that your work is superb, and I'll believe it until you do. Because I haven't even seen it, but I know it's superb. And so dream, you need a coach. And then I would say that life still happens. So no matter what you see on social media, like I have the same challenges. Life is still life.
Totally.
But what I've learned is that to be in whatever moment I'm in. So if it's talking to you, I am just so excited to be right here talking to you or whomever it is that's in front of me, and to just live my life, because this is it. This is the journey right here. Like I'm not getting ready for this is it. And so that's why I say it's the best day ever because no matter if it's what I perceive to be good, what I perceive to be not so good, doesn't feel good, is uncomfortable, like it's life. And I am living my best life, not to be cliche, and it really is the best day ever. And so I would say the third thing is be in that journey and feel all of it, not just the good parts, not just the comfortable parts, because I live my life being uncomfortable now. Like that's the status quo, is uncomfortable. But that would be what I would advise.
Okay. Okay. I hope you took those notes. All right. Last but not least, for someone who has not walked into our community yet, someone who has not dialed in to, and I would say Freedom 52, but this is not just about Freedom 52. Freedom 52 is a baseline. You've worked with us in other capacities, but you started by coming to a live event. Someone loved you and said, hey, I think you should come to this live event. This is not like anything you've ever seen before. And this is not just another 3-day event. And you were like, okay. And you came and you actually left early. You left early, if I remember correctly, right? You had to leave a day early and you were like, and you guys are, and what the hell is happening? And and then thinking of, that's the only way I can equate it. But then thinking about some of the other private experiences you've had with us, to the woman who has not ventured yet, specifically, to the woman who has not ventured yet. Yeah. What's your message to her?
You already know what you get when you do it the way you've been doing it thus far. You should really try something different, whether you understand it, whether you can explain it, whether you fully get it. You are worth taking a risk, taking a leap, being curious about what's possible. Like, our lives are so worth that, because if I had not, that's why she didn't have to talk to me for long before I was like, yeah, I'll go to the stage. Sure, no problem. I'll make that work. Even if because the first thought is, well, I can't do all 3 days, so no. But you know what? What I can do is 2 days. So, and come in on a red eye to be in a seat at 8 o'clock here in Atlanta, it was worth all of that, because that alone has changed in such a short amount of time my life exponentially. So it was worth it. And when I know that when people come and offer you things, because she didn't have to.
She was like, no, you gotta go. She was adamant about it. Yeah, hands down.
But she didn't have to.
And all you needed to do was trust that moment.
I was like, well, yeah, I know you well enough. I don't think you would like call me up on the phone and offer me something bogus because you were out to get me. So sure, I'll go there. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. So I think I'm going to close with this particular message. Stop saying no. Stop saying no. You're never going to find the logic in a dream or the steps to get to the dream. There is no logic. It does not make sense. And most of it is illogical, and most of it won't make sense. But the truth is that you have to move anyways. You literally have to move anyways, but you have to move consistently. You know, for me, it's like you either want it or you don't. And in this particular moment, my message to that person, so whether you're watching this live or you're here with us on replay, I'm going to say this: you either want it or you don't. You can't want it for 2 out of 7 days.
No.
You can't want it between 3 and 6. You can't want it, for partial of January. This is not how this works. Your dreams are so waiting on you, but they're waiting on you to be consistent. They're waiting on you to show up, and they're waiting on you to be present in that moment, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Jerrica, I am thrilled and excited that I've had the opportunity to spend this time with you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hands down, I adore you and I love you, and I mean that every fiber of my body. I cannot wait to watch what you're going to do over the next 6 months alone. Are you kidding me? You're going to be on the flipping West Coast. You're going to be doing the damn thing in a whole nother way and taking the world by storm. And more importantly, I know one thing's for sure, that there are people whose lives are going to be changed simply because you've decided to tell your story, but more importantly, because you're consistently showing up and you're not making excuses and you're literally doing the damn thing. I adore you. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in, for watching, and for being present. And the question is, from me to you, is, are you doing the damn thing today or not? It's just that simple. Bye.